when you see how the FBI has been used by the Democrat Party, how it's been weaponized against their opponents, whether these are people parading and trespassing on government property. I don't mean broke into a place and attacked cops. I mean walked on the lawn or went into the Capitol building, were waved in, were there for 45 seconds, and are now doing 60 days in jail and a fine and have a scarlet letter on their record for all time. When you see what was done to the Tea Party, when the Tea Party was rising and was very, very strong, and it elected like 60 Republicans or more to take over the House and many Republicans in the Senate, how the Obama IRS went after the Tea Party. And there's a history of Democrats using the IRS. Franklin Roosevelt used the IRS against Andrew Mellon, who'd been the Treasury Secretary under Coolidge and was a fabulous, fabulous public servant. There was nothing on Mellon. He tried for 10 years to put that guy in jail, and it didn't work. He ordered his Treasury Secretary, Henry Morgenthau, to go after Mellon. And even at the end, the federal judge says, you don't have anything on him. Or when John Kennedy used the IRS to go after conservative groups he didn't like, or when Lyndon Johnson used the IRS to go after his political opponents, and he used the FBI to tap the phones of civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King, sent the FBI into the Democrat convention in Atlantic City to monitor King and other civil rights leaders. And when he tapped the phone of his own vice president, who was running for president, to see if his vice president was loyal to him or not, and I could go on. And there's the poor Nixon. He's taping people in his office because that taping system was first put in there originally by Franklin Roosevelt. Eisenhower pulled it out. Kennedy put it in. Lyndon Johnson kept it and expanded it. They went after Nixon, but of course they didn't go after any of the Democrats, did they? And now we're going to have an Internal Revenue Service with 87,000 more agents, so 170,000 total. They have doubled the size and the resources of the Internal Revenue Service. Private sector is suffering. The bureaucracy is bloated and getting more bloated. And keep in mind also that all these bureaucrats, they give money to the PACs of their unions, which give over 90%. In the case of the Treasury Department union, which includes the IRS, they give over 98% of their donations to Democrats. So your money's not only going to hiring people who are going to threaten you, it goes to people who are going to contribute to your political opponents. That's why they do these things. So let's take a listen to this. Inequality media. Go.
The IRS is set to receive its largest funding increase in years thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. You know who should be worried about this? Wealthy Americans who dodge taxes. Recent figures estimate that the richest 1%.
So you see, according to little Robert Reich, we need 87,000 new IRS agents to go with the other 80,000. So 170,000 IRS agents to audit 700 billionaires. Now, does that make sense to anybody? The vast majority of audits are done to people who earn under $75,000 a year, 75,000 or under. The vast majority. Even the Congressional Budget Office said there's going to be significant audits of blue-collar workers and the middle class, because that's where the easy pickings are. You can't hire fancy lawyers and litigators and IRS experts, and many people do their own taxes, or they have a local accountant do their taxes. That's who they're going to go after, you. And there's nothing to stop them. They just lie about the rich versus the poor because they're Marxists. They're going to tell you, well, the richest 1% don't pay this and don't pay that. It's nothing to do with this. They're unleashing these people against you and small businesses. Go.
Are hiding more than 20% of their earnings from the IRS.
Now, I've always wondered about this. So here's the Washington Post that does a story more than a year ago that says the richest 1% are hiding more than 1/5 of their income. Don't you find that strange, Mr. Producer? If they're hiding it, then how do they know about it? If they're hiding it, how do they know about it? If they're hiding it, why don't they tax it? Because this is semantics used by the left as they destroy the language and change the narrative. The Internal Revenue Code is massive. It's bigger than the Manhattan phone book when we used to have phone books. Like this. So when you're wealthy, you have a few billion or 100 million, you can't figure that stuff. You hire people to take care of it. I have a CPA. I'm not as wealthy as these billionaires and 100 millionaires and all the rest of it, but I don't want to make a mistake and I don't understand it. You're signing that return under penalty of perjury and you hope for the best. That's what we all do, hope for the best, those of us who pay taxes. But there are deductions. I don't have a lot of deductions. I don't have money in Cancun. I don't know all this stuff, and I don't want all this stuff. I don't want all these problems. My CPA has an order from me. If we have to pay a little more, pay it. That's because I don't want any problems with these people. Now, the problem is, if you have multiple businesses and you need deductions for the businesses to stay afloat and so forth, they're in the Internal Revenue Code. They've been snuck in there or put in there intentionally by the mansions, the cinemas, the Schumers for Wall Street, Biden for Wilmington, where most companies are headquartered because of the tax benefits, and on and on and on. So is that what they mean by hiding 1/5 of their income? I think it is. Is that what they mean by loopholes when they're intentionally put there by members of Congress? I think it is. But they're not hiding, and they're not loopholes if it's in the statute. Go.
Accounting for more than 1/3 of all unpaid federal taxes.
So look at the assumption, but he wants it to be this way. 36% of all unpaid federal income taxes are owed by top 1%. That's based on the assumption that they're hiding 1/5 of their income, which is based on nothing. Absolutely nothing. We don't know about that. Go.
Some estimates show that collecting all unpaid federal income taxes from the wealthiest Americans could generate anywhere from $200 billion to $1.75 trillion.
Now let's slow down. Could generate from 200 billion to almost 2 trillion, 10 times more? That seems to be a little broad to me, doesn't it to you? From 200 billion to 1.75 trillion. Excuse me? Where are you getting these numbers from? Well, they just pull them out of thin air. Somebody writes a column and makes that suggestion, and that's what they do. What these fools want is to redistribute wealth. This is all Marxist claptrap. I don't care if somebody makes $1 billion or $100 billion or $400 billion. What do I care? How does it affect me? It has no impact on me whatsoever. It's not as if they make $400 billion. Nobody does. I'm just making a point. As if they make $400 billion and somehow it's an obstacle to me. It's not an obstacle to me at all. You know what I think? How the hell did he or she do that? I need to figure out how to do that. When I was a little kid, that's what they used to teach us. Don't you want to be successful? Sure. You want to be a millionaire, which was a big deal? Sure. Well, get out and do this. That's a redistribution of wealth. If this is what you're interested in, go ahead.
Over the decade. So why hasn't our government been able to collect all that?
Now, let me just say this as a matter of observation. I'm wearing this because of the DeSantis statement on here. And I don't normally wear this in front of this show, first time. This guy, look at what he's wearing. You'd think he's poor. You'd think he's homeless, right? You'd think he's a slouch. He makes an enormous amount of money. Go ahead.
Money from the richest of the rich? Because the IRS has been underfunded and severely understaffed, thanks in large part to a decades-long campaign from Republicans to transfer wealth to the top.
You see, the Republicans want to transfer wealth to the top. That's right. Don't you understand? When the Democrats had the presidency, the House, and the Senate, what did they do with the IRS? Nothing. But it's the Republicans that want to transfer wealth to the top. That's why it's the Republicans proposing eliminating student loan debt of $10,000. Oh, that's the Democrats. Well, that is Robin Hood in reverse, as the Democrats like to say. That's hardworking blue-collar workers who may not have gone to college or may not have gotten a 4-year degree, subsidizing people who did. And what about those people who did pay off their student loans? Now, what about them? Suckers, too bad. And what about people that have loans that have nothing to do with colleges and universities, cars or trucks? or a loan to start a business, or a loan to pay debt, or a loan on your home. What about that? Too bad. You're not among the preferred. You don't get it. So why are they doing this? Number one, the colleges and universities, they're the propaganda mills for the left. They're the propaganda mills, number one. Number two, you notice they don't hold any hearings on tuition and how these colleges and universities are empires unto themselves, how they spend their money. But you and I have to subsidize them at the state and federal level no matter what. That's number two. And number three, as soon as this $10,000 is given to all these what should I call them? Welfare cases. These are welfare cases. What do you think the universities and colleges are going to do? What did the automobile industry do when this last bill passed was $7,500 in subsidies for electric cars? They increased their electric cars by $8,500. The next day, what do you think these colleges and universities are going to do? They're going to say, you know what, we better tighten our belts. We better redouble our efforts to catch expenses that we shouldn't have and to reduce. No, they're going to say more free money, jack up the tuition.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.